These are cases that will make you sick, part 3. This is the chilling case of Lisa Montgomery. Lisa Montgomery constantly lied about being pregnant and having miscarriages. And in 2004, she became friends with an actual pregnant woman whose name was Bobby Stinnett. Lisa then showed up to her house, where she proceeded to strangle her to death with a rope and then cut open her belly and take her baby out. Bobby Stinnett laid there as she bled out and died, and Lisa fled the scene with her baby. Luckily, thanks to the forensics and the investigators working on this case, they found Lisa and she confessed to the murder and the abduction of the baby. She was put on death row and was recently executed by lethal injection on January 13th, 2021. These are the most horrifying things Ted Bundy did, part 1. Up first, Ted Bundy just didn't attack grown women. He also raped and murdered children. On February 9th, 1978, Ted Bundy kidnapped, raped, and murdered 12-year-old girl named Kimberly Leach. He also lured another 12-year-old girl named Lynette Culver away from her junior high school in Idaho. He then took her back to his hotel room, where he raped her, drowned her, and threw her body in a river. Next up, Ted Bundy said that after raping and killing women, he liked to spend the night with their corpses. He also kept the heads of 12 of his victims. He decapitated them with a hacksaw, washed their hair, and even applied makeup to them. And then after that, engaged in sexual acts with the heads. This is absolutely disturbing, and I can't believe this man actually did that. These are YouTubers who became criminals, part 1. Up first is Hayes Greer. You guys might remember him from Vine, but recently in 2021, he was arrested after assaulting a man and leaving him with brain damage. He apparently beat up the man and then swiped his phone. Not only did he leave the victim with brain damage, but also a broken left orbital bone, bruised ribs, and even hearing loss. Next is Trey Siesler. He was a YouTuber under the name of Landscape Productions with a total of 320 videos. But on March 20th, 2012, he killed his father, mother, and brother in Waller, Texas. God forgive me, for I cannot forgive myself, with the bodies of his family members shot multiple times underneath. He later admitted to the police that he killed them because he did not want them to know that he planned on shooting up his high school. He was charged with capital murder.
Things about working at the Lizzie Borden house that just make sense. The house won't let me in through the side door, but it lets me in through the basement. Behold the dwelling of an alleged demon. Messages on the wall. Communicating with your coworkers includes, "Hey, it's just me, not a demon." "That wasn't me." Plenty of, family photos. Don't get me started on the lounge. That just so happens to be at the site of a brutal axe murder. Sorry, Andrew. Music. No, you can't chop your papa up in Massachusetts. Pairs on pairs on pairs on pairs. More pairs, more family photos. You may think there's no place to hide. Don't worry, there is. A famous view. I literally just heard a moan. Anything behind me? Photography is encouraged. It always was. Just look out.
This kid recorded himself before shooting up a school, and it's absolutely terrifying. This is Nicholas Cruz, and on February 14th, 2018, he shot up a high school in the Parkland, Florida area, murdering 17 people and injuring another 17. And this video shows him talking about it the day before he does it. And it's absolutely disturbing.
Hello, my name is Nick, and I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people with an AR-15 and a couple tracer rounds. I think I can get done. Location is Stone Douglas in Parkland, Florida. It's going to be a big event. And when you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am. You're all going to die.
These are some of the most gruesome murders ever committed. Part 1. The case of Lisa Montgomery, otherwise known as the Womb Raider. Lisa Montgomery, who was a 43-year-old woman, was the first lady ever to be executed after being sentenced to 67 years in prison for committing a murder that literally shocked America. In 2004, Montgomery was sentenced to life after murdering a young woman named Bobby Jo Sinnett and then moving on to cutting open her stomach, removing her womb and her baby using a kitchen knife. see, Montgomery had claimed for a long time that she couldn't have kids, so she befriended Stinnett thinking that she could take her baby. So what she did was showed up at her house, strangled her with a rope, and proceeded to cut her open. The dead body was actually discovered by Stinnett's mother, who walked into a bloody pile and claimed her daughter looked like she had just exploded. But even after all that, the baby did survive and was returned to her father, where she is now about to turn 16 years old. That's insane. So what's up? These are the scariest things ever said by serial killers, part 1. The first quote's gonna come from serial killer named Carl Panzram, who exclaimed, "I'm sorry for only two things. I'm sorry that I mistreated few animals and that I was unable to kill the whole darned human race." And if you don't know who Carl Panzram is, he was a serial killer back in the 1930s who confessed to over 21 counts of murder and over 1,000 acts of sodomy on young boys. And if you don't know what sodomy is, look it up. It's disgusting. You see, Carl Panzram is known as the most cold-blooded serial killer in history, and I'm guessing the reason being is because he always exclaimed that he does not regret any single crime he committed. Not the burglary, not the rape, not the murder, not the arson, none of it. As a young child, Panzram was raped and tortured, and I'm thinking that he turned that lifestyle into his own and turned the tables, bringing revenge on the people that did it to him. Whether you know him or you've just heard of him, when you hear the name Carl Panzram, you think pure evil.
They executed this serial killer the same way he killed over 100 boys. Okay, so we all know that serial killers really never get what they deserve. They either just get the death penalty or they just rot away in prison. But the serial killer that I'm about to explain to you got exactly what he deserved. This is Javed Iqbal. And from 1998 to 1999, he murdered and raped over 100 boys from the ages of 6 to 16 in Pakistan. He would rape his victims and then strangle them to death with an iron chain, and then cut their body into 100 small pieces and then dump it into a bucket of acid. And the most mind-blowing thing is, he did this to all 100 boys he murdered. Javad Iqbal was then sentenced to death by being strangled by an iron chain, then for his corpse to be cut into 100 small pieces and then his body to be thrown in acid. And they did this in front of all the victims' parents. They killed him the same exact way that he killed over 100 young boys in just a year. Keep that in mind, this all happened in just a year. These are photos with absolutely haunting backstories, part 1. Up first is the Cooper family photo. In the 1950s, the Cooper family moved into their new home and took a photograph to celebrate. However, the image was developed and they were confronted by this falling man, who many to believe was the former owner of the house. But nobody saw the man fall or heard it. They only realized it when they looked at the photo after it was developed. This is absolutely terrifying and I would immediately move out. Next up is the ghost of Freddie Jackson. This image was taken by Sir Victor Goddard of his squadron in 1919. The ghostly image is said to be Freddie Jackson, and Jackson died a few days before this photo was taken by walking into a moving propeller. If you look closely, you can see the ghost of Freddie Jackson behind this man. Next up is the Amityville ghost. This photo, taken by Ed and Lorraine Warren, claimed to show the ghost of a 9-year-old John Defoe. Defoe, along with his older brother, 2 sisters, and parents, were killed by his older brother Renaud at their house in Amityville. Ed and Lorraine Warren were paranormal experts who entered the house and captured this image using a camera that consistently took infrared photos during the night. Next up is the photo of Grandpa's ghost. Somehow this lady's husband managed to appear in this photo despite dying 7 years before. Denise Russell took this photo of her grandma, who lived alone at the time, on August 17, 1997.
This is an extremely disturbing case. So in August 2005, China Arnold of Ohio was having an argument over Paris's paternity with the dad. After they fought, she stuck her 28-day-old baby inside of this microwave for over 2 minutes with it running. She ended up dying when her temperature reached 108. The next day, the parents took her to the hospital, and China tried to say that she was intoxicated so she doesn't know how the child died. But that was bullshit. While she was in jail awaiting trial, she ended up having a romantic relationship with her cellmate, and she confessed to her how guilty she felt over the murder. So that lady ended up testifying against her, which caused China to get life in prison. It's honestly so messed up. China tried to get her other son to lie and say that the neighbor killed her baby, but that was proved to be BS, and now she'll rot in prison.
This is a man who killed his family twice. Gregory Green is a convicted murderer who completely failed at his second chance at life. In his early 20s, he married Tanya Green. It wasn't long into the marriage that Gregory started to show some signs of abusiveness, such as jealousy, anger, and violence. While Tanya was 6 months pregnant with Gregory's child, she threatened to leave him for good once she got home. But Tanya never got the chance because as soon as she got home, Gregory stabbed her with a steak knife 10 times, killing her and their unborn child. Gregory was given a 15 to 25 year sentence in prison, and during his time there, he was denied parole 4 times. However, during his time in prison, he gained lots of support from friends and family and grew really close to a pastor named Fred Harris, who helped him find God, and he was his biggest supporter of getting him out. In 2008, Gregory was released on parole after serving 16 years in prison, and after just 2 years on parole, he was a completely free man. Shortly after that, he married his second wife, Faith Harris Green, who was the daughter of the pastor he was working with in prison. They were married for 6 years, and Faith had a 19 and 17-year-old child from a previous marriage, and Gregory and Faith had a 5 and 6-year-old child. Over the course of their marriage, Gregory started to show the same signs of abusiveness as he showed before, and Faith also tried to file a restraining order but was denied. Things got really ugly in 2016 when Gregory poisoned his 2 young children that were sleeping upstairs, took Faith to the basement, tied her to a chair, and beat her. He then brought down his stepchildren and shot them in front of her. Faith survived the encounter, and Gregory was sentenced to prison yet again and won't be eligible for parole until he's 97 years old.
It's a moment in court that shocked everyone. The sister of a slain 13-year-old cheerleader dropping heart-shaped stones into a glass. One after another, the glass fills up until she reaches the number 114.
This jar now holds 114 stones, one for each of the 114 stab wounds that my sister had to endure.
Tristan Bailey, last seen wearing her cheerleader uniform, went missing on Mother's Day 2 years ago in Jacksonville, Florida. This surveillance video shows her at 1:15 a.m. She's walking with a 14-year-old classmate, Aiden Fucci. When police picked up Fucci for questioning, he posted this truly disturbing photo of himself in the back of a police car, giving the V sign with the caption, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristan lately?" He also posted a Snapchat video.
Having fun in a car.
During his police interrogation, Fucci's parents scolded him for posting on social media.
The Snapchat that you did was not very smart.
Not a Snapchat thing you did. It's all over. You're all over the internet and everywhere.
Tristan's body was discovered in a secluded wooded area. She had been stabbed 114 times. Fucci pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. At his sentencing hearing, each of Tristan's siblings and her parents all dropped stones into the jar.
So impactful, it just absolutely stopped everybody. Complete quiet in court.
Fucci presented this handwritten apology. "I'm sorry for all the pain I caused the Bailey family. I know my apology will not fix anything or bring her back." That didn't sway the judge, who sentenced Fucci to the maximum penalty allowable under Florida law.
There is only one appropriate sentence in this case. I sentence you to life in prison.
This disturbing image may not look real, but it very much is. This is a picture of Rhoda Derry, and I'm going to tell you her sad and tragic story. Rhoda Derry was born on October 10, 1834 in Adams County, Illinois. She lived a pretty normal life in a well-to-do farming family. Like any other teenage girl, when she was 16 she fell in love and began a romantic relationship with a boy who happened to live on the farm next door. The boy's parents weren't fond of their relationship, and it really went south when they found out their plans to marry a couple years later. They believed that Rhoda may be involved in witchcraft, a tale that dated back to her grandmother, Mary Derry of Pennsylvania. The story surrounding her grandmother frightened Rhoda, and matters were only made worse when the boy's mother came to her and told her to stay away, and if not, she would curse her. This is when things went south for Rhoda. She had a severe mental breakdown and eventually grew to believe that an evil spirit called Old Scratch was haunting her. She was hospitalized but was deemed incurable, so she was returned back home to her parents. Her parents tried to care for her, but it became too much, so she was sent to Adams County Almshouse when she was 25 years old on September 3, 1860. The almshouse was known for treating patients inhumanely, and for 4 decades Rhoda was subjected to horrific conditions. A report from the General Assembly in 1881 indicated that Rhoda spent most of her time naked inside of a wooden box filled with straw. Her excrement filled the box, and mice built nests around her. Rhoda sat in the box in a crouched position with her knees up to her chin. Because she sat in this position for so long, she eventually lost movement in her legs. She was constantly moving as well, so she had bruises all over her body. She even punched her face and knocked out her teeth, as well as gouged out her eyes. To make matters even worse, Rhoda could not speak. In 1904, she was sent to Bartonville Asylum. She was bathed daily and slept in a bed for the first time in decades. On October 9, 1906, the day before her 72nd birthday, she passed away. Rest in peace, Rhoda Derry.
My daddy is a hero. He helps me grow up strong.
What's going on?
So my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend.
All right.
And I dropped her off at 2 o'clock this morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well, and she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, and I told her to let me know if she needed me to take her. She's got 2 little girls. Her car's in the garage. Her shoes she wears every single day right in the front door.
You seen your neighbors today? No? Okay. Scott, how you doing?
How's it going?
So this is the only vehicle she would have?
Only one that, yeah.
She would drive? Okay. Did she tell you anything about leaving, moving out?
Not moving out. I mean, the last time I talked to her was this morning. She said she was going to take the kids to a friend's house, and that's where she was going to be.
No.
Rocking back and forth. He never moves his stuff in and out of the garage. He doesn't look worried. He looks like he's trying to cover his tracks. He's normally quiet, real subdued.
When I got home yesterday, it was like a ghost town. Like, she wasn't here. Kids weren't here. I have no idea like where they went. I called her 3 times, texted her about 3 times just to say, you know, what's going on. Like, if she's vanished, like, I want her back so bad. I want those kids back so bad.
Not just this. Rage. I'm bad. The babies are gone, and I put my hands around my wife's neck and did that.
Hello.
Hello. Is everything okay?
My mommy and daddy.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a bullet on the floor.
Where's Mommy at?
I don't know. I think they're dead.
What do you mean, sweetheart?
I don't know.
Okay, your daddy's on the floor. How old are you?
I'm 5 years old and I have a dog in the house.
Okay, baby, okay. Let me get somebody right over to you. Did you go in your mommy and daddy's room?
And there's blood.
All over the place?
Not all over. There's blood on the plant and blood on the floor.
Oh my goodness. And you have your little doggie with you?
And 3 cats.
Well, and you got some cats too?
3 cats and 1 dog.
Okay. Are you the only one there besides Mommy and Daddy?
I said Mommy and Daddy and they didn't even answer.
Okay. What made you wake up tonight?
I think I heard a gunshot.
You heard a gun?
Yes, and I see a bullet laying on the floor. I think it's a bullet.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Who has a gun in the house?
I don't see a gun, but I'm scared.
Oh, sweetheart, I will not let anything happen to you.
Can you send the deputy down?
I promise I will. And you're only 5 years old?
Mm-hmm.
You are so smart for 5 years old. Was there anybody else in the house besides you and Mommy and Daddy tonight? Like an uncle or anything?
No, there's no robber in the house.
Okay, well, I didn't think there'd be a robber, sweetheart. Did you have anybody staying over the night with you guys tonight?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so and the doors are all locked and everything like that. Where are you in the house?
Well, I was in my room sleeping until I heard a noise shot and it woke me up.
Oh my goodness! What part of the house are you in at now?
I'm in the one. It's yellow. A whole yellow house, a green
Does Mommy and Daddy have a car in the driveway?
We need 2 cars.
2 cars? What kind of cars do they have?
My mom has a Toyota.
What color is that Toyota? Is it dark or gray or silver?
It's red.
Red? Okay. What kind of car does Daddy have?
He has a Jeep. It's black and
Okay.
white.
Listen to me. Is your phone the kind of phone you can take with you and walk around? There should be an officer at your front door. I need for you to take.
You guys, this is why you can never own a pet chimp. You see, Sandy and Jerry were very successful multi-millionaires. They owned a towing company. But after Sandy's daughter died, she fell in a deep depression and wanted to find more meaning in life. So she adopted a monkey and they named him Travis. This is Travis. And for a few years, everything was going great. They loved Travis. They literally treated him like he was their child. They did everything with him. They took him for walks. They took him for baths. They ate with him. They slept with him. They even let him drive their freaking car. But you see, as Travis got older, primatologists and professionals would start reaching out to Sandy. And they were all like, Sandy, babe, you gotta get rid of the chimp. Chimps are fine to own when they're babies, but when they're adults, they're known to be wild and aggressive. But despite their warnings, Sandy kept the chimp. And things would take a turn for the worse one day when Sandy could not get Travis to come back inside the house. And by the way, this is Travis. He really let himself go. So Sandy ended up calling her friend Charla, this is Charla, to come over and help her get Travis. So Charla got out Travis's favorite Tickle Me Elmo toy. But what Travis did next was shocking. Travis then freaked out and started attacking Charla. Sandy tried to help get him off. She grabbed a snow shovel and started hitting him on the head, but he was just too strong. So Sandy then grabbed a knife and stabbed Travis, but it still did nothing. She'd end up having to call the cops to help her, and this is an excerpt of the 911 call. You can actually hear Travis in the background.
What's the problem?
Please! Send the police!
What's the problem there? Problem with your friend?
Oh! Please!
What's the problem with your friend? I need to know.
Send the police up!
Travis would go on attacking Charla for 13 minutes, and once the police got there, he'd attack the police, so they had to shoot him. The injuries Charla got from the accident left her unrecognizable. He had broken almost every bone in her face, ripped off her eyelids, tore off her jaw, and both of her hands. Her injuries were so bad that all the doctors and nurses who worked on her had to go get therapy afterwards. Against all odds, Charla would end up surviving the brutal attack, but she was left blind and missing both hands. You might be asking, why did Travis flip out? What happened that day that made him act so different? Well, it would later come out that Sandy had actually spiked his drink with Xanax to try and make him calm down. And sometimes Xanax can cause people to be psychotic and go into manic states rather than calm them down. And so professionals think that's what actually happened to Travis that day. But losing Travis caused Sandy to go in a deep state of depression. She actually tried to get another pet chimp. Girl, just get a dog! But she'd unfortunately end up dying within a year after the accident from a heart attack. Charla would end up winning $4 million in a lawsuit against Sandy and is now spending the rest of her life in a living facilitated facility. When asked about the whole situation, Charla says that Sandy was a really sick woman and hopes that she ended up finding peace. But what do you guys think? Do you think people should be allowed to own pet chimps? Let me know down below. Until next time, stay safe out there.
I covered the most disturbing website you could run across on the modern day internet. Not many people know that the creator of that website actually created another one because he deemed that website not shocking enough. Always, this is for educational purposes only. Please do not seek out these kinds of websites. They can destroy your computer, if not your mental sanity. The website we're going to be talking about is actually taken down, but please do not Google it in any way because there are remnants of it still located throughout the internet. The website's name was womansalliance.xyz. And Women's Alliance was a classic bait and switch website. If you don't know what a bait and switch website is, it is something that is pretending to be something that it's not. In the case of Women's Alliance, it was taken on the guise of a feminist women's empowerment website. And similar to the website before, here is a snapshot of what you would see if you were to visit the landing page of womansalliance.xyz. It's kind of blurry, you can't read it, but basically it's saying this website contains stories of women empowerment and it may be offensive to some readers. Viewer discretion is advised, 18 plus only, and then you would click that enter button to enter the actual site. And once you hit the enter button is the reason I warn people not to go onto these websites, because then scripts would take over your computer, forcing your volume to go as loud as it could go, and then force it into full screen mode. Also similar to the website I talked about before, as soon as you hit the enter button, it is then impossible to leave that website unless you unplug your computer. Alt F4 does not work, Task Manager does not work, the scripts have taken over your computer completely. I'm now going to describe what you see and hear on this website, so if you are sensitive to this subject, please continue scrolling. I'm going to give you a second. Okay, here we go. From this point on, your browser is then in full screen mode and playing a non-stop montage of videos to include women being tortured to the highest degree, mutilated, raped, and also various diseases affecting women. Videos about the diseased women would include videos like pus-filled breasts due to cancer, rotting breasts, and even maggots crawling out of a woman's private parts that is now deemed to be a corpse. While this is going on, Ray Orbison's song Pretty Woman is being blared at very high volumes over the sounds of the woman being tortured. The reason this website is way more malicious and sinister than the previous website is because this is an actual bait and switch. The people who were visiting these websites were actually going to this website for stories of women empowerment and to read about women's power. But what they were getting instead was the complete opposite and no way of ever exiting the website without completely turning off your computer. Now, I did describe this website as well as the previous website in way more detail on my YouTube channel, but I also did read some words from the actual creator of the website into why he created these sites, how he did it, and what was his motivation behind them. Again, if you want to know why he created these websites and you want to know more about these websites, my latest video on my YouTube channel is up now and it is free to watch.
Christopher Newsom and Shannon Christian were a young couple from Knoxville, Tennessee. Christopher, born in 1983, was a former baseball player for the Halls High School Red Devils. He graduated in 2002 and attended the Pellissippi State Technical Community College, going on to become a carpenter. Shannon, born in 1985 in Nacogdoches, Texas, moved from Louisiana to Tennessee with her family in 1997. She graduated from Farragut High School in 2003 and was a senior majoring in sociology at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Aged just 21 and 23, with their lives ahead of them, Shannon and Christopher were victims of a brutal murder for which 4 males and 1 female were arrested, charged, and convicted. Those convicted were Latalvis Darnell Cobbins, Lamaricus Deval Davidson, George Giovanni Thomas, Eric Dwayne Boyd, and Vanessa Coleman. On 6th of January 2007, the couple had plans to go for dinner and then attend a friend's party. The couple had dinner at a local restaurant and were last seen leaving an apartment complex, presumably on their way to their friend's house. Investigators said that Shannon was behind the wheel of the vehicle and Christopher was stood in the open door of the vehicle, kissing her, when the two were attacked. The attackers forced Shannon and Christopher into the back seat of Shannon's SUV at gunpoint. Their hands were tied behind their back and they were taken to Davidson's house at 2316 Chippen Street. Here, an unthinkable attack ensued. Both Shannon and Christopher were raped. Christopher is believed to have been raped inside the house. According to the Knox County Acting Medical Examiner's testimony, Christopher had been sodomized with an object and raped by at least one perpetrator. Following the assault, Christopher was taken to a set of railroad tracks where he was forced to walk barefoot. A mangled dog leash was found on a hillside leading up to the railroad tracks. It is believed this was used to force Christopher to walk. Christopher's hands were tied behind his back and his feet were bound together. He was blindfolded with a bandana and gagged with a sock, wearing only a shirt and underwear. Christopher was then shot in the neck and back, but did not die instantly. After a while, he was shot again in the back of the head. This last shot proved fatal, severing Christopher's brainstem. Following the murder of Christopher, his attackers set his body on fire. Whilst her boyfriend was being murdered, unbeknownst to her, Shannon was held prisoner inside the house. It is believed that Vanessa Coleman held Shannon captive whilst the males murdered Christopher. Following Christopher's murder, the assailants returned to Davidson's house to commit further atrocities. Shannon was subjected to horrific torture. She was repeatedly beaten and raped. It is believed that Shannon was tied to a chair and orally raped by Davidson and Cobbins. Shannon was also anally and vaginally raped, as well as being kicked in her vagina and beaten on the head. After several hours of torture, Shannon had sustained severe head injuries and severe injuries to her vagina, anus, and mouth, suffering extensive hemorrhaging to her head and vaginal area.